Okay, folks, this is a prolog to the April 30th study session meeting of the Roland Unified School District because due to an operator malfunction, the public comment, which the only one was me, didn't get on there. And you would never know it was me before anyway, except depending if you got in at the very beginning, because the district, and that's Julie Mitchell, superintendent, emailed her, hey, we're not going to do any video or loud video for those who are doing public comment. So, guess what? And so I made known to them this was disrespectful and part of the passive aggressive behaviors that have gone on in this district uh, for so long. And to include, mention that the publication of information and some putting things on the front page there of their website has made things much better for a person to be able to access and have methods to access the virtual meetings, especially the one that's going to be coming up on May 6th. Okay, that's the County Board of Education is going to be holding a virtual situation regarding the trustee area voting situation. People said, if nothing else, tune into it if you're not going to say anything. I'm going to be, I know I got to be up on that, but that's a very important thing they should have on every, and I mentioned on every marquee throughout the entire district, and also to put it on the county one that they have here on Colima and Roland Heights. And so also I'd mentioned that on the buzz, persons who've been here a long time made mention to me, and I mentioned the person by name is Stephanie, that, hey, Roland Heights has been a ghetto for a long time. And when I mentioned that the district has the ghetto image from other surrounding areas, that President Board David Mallock, you see the look on his face. That would be worth it all. Okay, folks, they're just dealing with reality, transparency, dealing with the truth, and that's what we need. Okay, so we're going to get on the main presentation here, and it's about LCAP and lots of good things going on there. That it's at least people can have the opportunity to view this. Okay, bye.
We thank our board for their relentless support in making sure that we have everything we need in place so that our students and staff can provide the best education possible to all of our students across K-12 schools and our local education program as well. So through our presentation, you will see how all of these groups on the slide benefit in a very positive way from our actions that are outlined in our plan. Right? We want to start with elementary. These are examples of how we provide support to our elementary students and staff. We have instructional coaches at every site. Our instructional coaches do an amazing job providing both site level and district level professional development. They also provide very intense support to our teachers by doing lesson design with them, by doing one-on-one coaching, supporting the implementation of technology, as well as demonstrating lessons for them. Our coaches are integral to the work that's happening at our schools. As far as professional development, the board this year was part of a school walkthrough. We went through the 3 areas of focus, and we're very excited to share with you how Reader's Workshop, Writer's Workshop, and math guided instruction is being implemented in our schools. You were able to see how students interact with teachers and how teachers have changed their practice to engage with students on a continuous basis. As far as instructional materials, we're very happy to say that this year we will be bringing to the board in May the recommendation for adopting our TK through 5th grade science textbooks. We've been working on this school year, and we are there now, and our teachers are waiting for the materials. We're very happy to say that we will be purchasing those and waiting for those to come in before the next school year begins. We also purchased supplemental materials for our teachers to support the focus areas, as well as foundational skills that are very important for our students to be able to read and write at the primary grade. And we did that this year with the support of our instructional coaches and our teachers as well. They were part of the process. We also had support from our principals, so it really was a collective effort to make sure that our students not only had the support and the materials that they need to continue their learning. All right. In secondary education, we also have our instructional coaches. They're a big part of everything that happens in the classrooms and at the site to make sure that we continue to support our teaching and learning framework. They provide a lot of job-embedded support by modeling instruction. They also personalize the support to teachers. Some teachers want to see lessons demonstrated. Others want to have our coaches help them with lesson planning as well as data analysis. And so the coaching is really tailored to the needs of our staff. We are again excited that this year we are bringing to the board a recommendation in May for our history, social science adoption at the secondary level. And this year we also started to review materials for science adoption. That will take place next school year. However, our teachers that are part of the committee started reviewing materials this school year, as well as receiving training on how to look at the different offerings that are out there to best select the ones that will fit our needs here in Northern Unified. As far as college and career, we have our counselors. This year we added 2 lead counselors, one at each high school, one at each of the comprehensive high schools. And they are providing real-time support to our counselors. They're also part of a group that meets on a monthly basis to make sure that we are a district that has systems in place that are the same at all of our high schools. So they're working on that. So articulation and collaboration has been part of their monthly meetings. We are happy to say that the counseling ratio here in Lowland Unified is quite low as compared to the state average. In high school, we are 350 to 1 counselor, and in middle school, we are 450 to 1 counselor. That is way below the state average. In special education, our performance indicator review, the special education department has continued to provide ongoing site coaching and staff development with special education and general education staff. We are excited to say that our efforts in providing students in special education the least restrictive environment has increased from 65 to 76%. The state goal is 80%. So we're not quite there, but we're getting there. And that is attributed to the work that our special education teachers and staff and department as a whole has done in collaboration with our general education teachers and staff. We have this year implemented our full BEST team. We added 4 TOSAs to make a total of 6 TOSAs that provide support to our schools, both general education and special education teachers, in providing coaching when students need that additional support to help them be successful in class. So the TOSAs provide support, especially when there's a situation that requires a very tactful way to de-escalate a crisis. And so that has been working very well. All of our schools have behavior assistants that support the work of the BEST team. Read and write accommodations. Last year the board was able to see the program that is Read and Write, and at that time we were implementing it in 1 3rd-grade classroom. Now that program is being implemented in all 3rd-grade classrooms across our elementary schools. This program is very successful in supporting not only the academic needs of our students, but it also supports their mental health. It can be used as a strategy in multi-tiered systems of support. It teaches the use of innovative technology that helps with future learning. It also can be used in conjunction with how our students are taught to do their work that exemplifies their knowledge in the standards when they take the state assessments. And it is definitely used in these restrictive environments. For our English learners, we continue to provide tutoring, both blended learning and in small group instruction. Tutoring happens during the day. It also happens after school. And we are happy to say that we have college tutors that help us support these efforts. As far as professional development, we do have a coach, a K-12 coach. She helps our teachers with implementing designated and integrated English language development. She also provides assistance to make sure that we are building relationships across schools with regards to the needs of our English learners, especially our newcomers. We make sure that our teachers are engaged in peer observation, that they are reflective in their instruction, and that they are learning from each other beyond what our coach does, so that it is a community of practice. In the summer, we provide support for our newcomers K-12. And that is a very special program that targets their needs. Newcomers are students that definitely need a lot of support with not only their verbal skills, but also their listening skills. And so making sure that we're addressing the standards that pinpoint those very essential pieces to learning a new language is key. We make sure that they're also part of the onboarding program that happens in the summer, so they get to know their new school environment, as well as build relationships with staff and other students that are going to be in their new setting with them. And we also have them attend USC as part of the engineering program, and that gives them an idea of all of the things that they can accomplish and the reasons why they also need to learn English as quickly as possible. Student services. As you know, we are a PBIS district, and at this time, all of our schools have been trained. When we began the training, it started off as a cohort approach, so that we can really support the schools and dive deep into the implementation of PBIS. All 19 schools have received recognition, either silver, gold, bronze, silver, or gold recognition, but all of our schools are recognized for their incredible implementation of PBIS. This year, we're also implementing positive classroom behavior supports, PCBS training. This training is much more geared to classroom behavior and support. So it is also part of a cohort training, and we are excited to say that it's begun and it's going very well. Saturday Exploration Academy. This year we had 6 Saturdays planned. Unfortunately, due to the student dismissal, we did have to cancel the April 14th date. However, up to that date, we had 1,141 students that attended, K-6, from all 14 elementary schools, all 11 elementary schools plus the K-6. We also had a great group of teachers that always participate in this, and they were, we had 31 of them participate in Saturday schools. Chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism, last year we were at 7.4%. Dr. Gaspard and his team, along with the support of our principals, worked very hard, and at the time of student dismissal, we were down to 4%. Incredible gains in 1 year. And just focusing on what is it that we can do to make sure that our kids are in school. We went to a training that was provided by the county, and it turned out to be extremely helpful. When we talk about student attendance, it is important that they're here. If they're not here, they're not learning. So at that point, we made sure that it was all hands on deck, and that we were doing everything possible, and you can see the amazing results. Family Resource Center. In this slide, our Family Resource Center provides so much support to our community. In this slide, I'm just going to give you examples of some of the wonderful things that we do. So they offer certain things that target our foster youth and our homeless students, our foster and homeless student population. However, it is very open to the students that want to participate, and we, of course, allow anybody who wants to come in and be part of these efforts to be part of them. So this year, there were college application nights for seniors, where our staff was able to help students understand and navigate the application process. We also provided FAFSA support night, which is a financial aid support night, in filling out the application so that our students can be recipients of financial aid, which is very important. And once students receive their award letter, there was another night that was dedicated to helping them understand what their next steps were. Because once you receive that award letter, you do have to follow a certain process to make sure that you are accepting what they're offering. So that's key. We don't want our students to miss any of that. The Family Resource Center also is supporting the Outreach Concern program, which is mental health that is being offered at every elementary school this year. Gear Up is happening at our secondary schools, and it's including a 10-week course for our English learners. Again, they support every student that is willing to participate. However, some of these are very targeted to meet the needs of certain student populations. We also have our social worker, who does an amazing job of reaching out to our parents and to our community and making sure that we have all of the resources that they need so that they can continue to be successful and focus on their goals and needs. So for community outreach, our Family Resource Center offers a lot of trainings that range in topics from academic help to how to parent a team. They also provide trainings that parents want to receive training in. It doesn't have to be only about the student, but it can also be about issues that the parents want to have discussed, such as substance abuse. And they're also part of increasing the connection with parents and families via the food distribution from the Sue She Foundation. We are also enhancing our tutoring in the apartments. Last year, we started off with having our high school students from Nogales High School be the tutors. This year, we're adding students that are college students so that the students that are being tutored can see that where they can be if they just put more effort into their academics, and our college students serve as those role models. Professional learning for teachers. We continue our efforts around the Readers, Writers workshop, as well as the mathematical practices, CGI. Again, our board was able to see how this works firsthand, and we were excited to see how our students and teachers demonstrated all the learning they've been doing for the last 3 years. At the secondary level, we were also going to have site visits. Unfortunately, due to the student dismissal, we were not able to do those. At the secondary level, the focus areas are around project-based learning, understanding by design, Kagan strategies, and instructional analysis. Project-based learning is at Giano Middle School. Understanding by design is at Alvarado Middle School and Santana High School. Kagan strategies is at Nogales, and instructional analysis is at Roland High School. Throughout the professional learning, we're making sure that our teachers are receiving professional development on the standards, including the next generation science standards, as well as the standards for mathematical practices that our students need to be successful. Integration of technology is key for us. Supporting formative assessments, we use Nearpod and Seesaw. We are also making sure that our students are connecting and pairing with students in real time via video conferencing. In this time of student dismissal, the reason that we were able to successfully transition to online learning is because the integration of technology is not new for us. We are making sure that professional learning continues to be anchored on 21st century learning with the integration of technology on an ongoing basis. Leadership, district leadership team. So building coherence is very important for us, and every year at the beginning, before school starts, there is a district-wide leadership retreat where we make sure that we are all connecting and that we continue to move forward in a way that brings about the district's mission and vision. This year we were working around a book called The Power of Moments, and this book helped us connect as a team and also reminded us that we can make moments meaningful and memorable so that we are always working together to acknowledge each other and to support each other through this work that we do on behalf of our students. The principal leadership development that we provide on a monthly basis, we make sure that we connect it to our teaching and learning framework, that we are always integrating the focus areas for the elementary, the middle, and the high schools, that we are bringing in and weaving in the need for formative assessment, which is at the core of teaching and learning. Making sure that we understand the needs and the strengths of our students is key so that we can continue to build on those strengths and address the needs of our students on a day-to-day basis. And we are also working with our principals K-12 on making the connection around our math needs. So this year we added that into a fold. We started talking about how students create their own vision of what math is for them, and at times we have to make sure that they don't feel that they cannot do math and that they're always looking at math as something that they can conquer so that they can become strong mathematicians. Distributed leadership. We know that we cannot do this alone. There is no one group that can do this alone. Educating more than 13,000 students is a big task, and we take it to heart, and we know that we need to involve our teachers and our administrators and our classified staff as well. We continue to have the Elementary Teachers Council. They provide support, input, and recommendations to issues that come about at the elementary level. At our secondary level, we have the instructional leadership team that also provide recommendations, input, feedback, areas that need to be addressed, as well as support our sites in taking back any information that comes about in those groups. We have the Superintendent's Council, we have Parent Leadership Academy, and we also have School Leadership Team. Within this distributed leadership, I'd just like to talk a little bit about our PSSP schools, Personalized School Success Plans. We have 6 this year that we're working with. Very excited to say that the work of the PSSP includes a leadership team from the site. It is very much a collaborative approach to looking at their needs through a root cause analysis, identifying high leverage actions that will make sure that they're addressing their needs, and also in collaboration with this team, we create a plan that they make sure that they're implementing with short and long-term goals. This past year, it was incredible to see the staff, for example, the staff at Santana High School. Their area of focus was graduation. And in a matter of months, about 7 months, They raised their graduation rate by 19.3%. They are currently at 61.8. Their goal and the state goal is 67%. We are almost there. And this was accomplished because there was a collaboration between Ed Services, Educational Services, and the team at Santana High School. We have similar plans depending on their areas of need with Nogales High School, with your Vida Elementary, the Porta Elementary, Northern Elementary, and Telesis Academy. Parent engagement, our parents are very important to the equation. They are our students' first teachers. We need their support, we need their presence, we need them to be partners with us, we need them to give us their feedback, and here you see multiple ways by which we involve them. This year, the Parent Involvement Academy was a success for us. Roland Unified, as you know, we do this event yearly in collaboration with other districts. This year, 200 of our parents attended. Huge success. Parent councils, we have the Superintendent's Council, we have the District English Language Advisory Committee, we have a Gate Advisory, we have our School Site Council, as well as our English Learner Advisory Committee at the site. For parent training, we've offered college preparedness nights, we've offered special education information as well as presentations. We offer information on the LPAC, which is the assessment that you give to our English learners. We offer information on our SBAC, which is the state assessment, as well as helping them understand the state dashboard and our Roman Unified results. I've given you a lot of information in a very short period of time, and we'd like to stop to see if there are any questions. We do have Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Rivas on the panel with us, as well as the other directors. They are also in the room with us.
Unmute. The unmute, I think first. Donna, you have some questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. I wanted to ask, and I asked this last year too, as far as counseling, are there any statistics on elementary school compared to the state?
That information, I don't have it with me, but I can sure get it for you.
Okay, terrific. And then the special ed page, that we were 65% and the goal was 85%. Did we show progress from the previous year?
Yes.
What was it the previous year?
So the previous year was 65. We're at 76. And the state wants us to reach 80%.
Okay.
So we grew 11 points.
Wow, that's terrific. And then just, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Maddie.
The team has done an amazing job making sure that we are providing the least restrictive environment, which is a big goal.
And the last one is just a comment about Chronic absenteeism. Wow, the board has been concerned about this, and Dr. Desper, the principals, everybody, wonderful to raise it so high, and the 19.3% raise shows a lot of hard work and a lot of success. So thank you very much for your report.
Other people?
Yeah, I have a question.
Well, I have Ms. Pride first.
Okay, I have a few questions. First, can you tell us what the rotation is on the timeline for replacing textbooks? How often?
Yes, well, it's typically an 8-year rotation. However, when we were going through the financial difficulties throughout the state,
Right.
the school districts were given the ability to not adopt. So Some of our adoptions are currently more than 8 years. However, we're moving on it, and I think we're on track to make sure that within the next couple of years, we will be there with all of our adoptions. Right now, we're looking at science already for secondary, and they're excited about that. We were able to finish the pilot and the recommendation for the adoption in history of social science. And next year, we will make sure that science comes back.
Okay, thank you. The FRC, are they still providing services right now as far as mental health services? As I'm thinking about, with the pandemic and the safer at home, that there's probably a lot of students who maybe are suffering from depression or stress, anxiety. Are any services being provided right now?
Can I defer that question to Miriam?
Yeah, I can take that one. So yes, they are still providing services. So our community liaisons are still connecting, checking in with families. We still are doing referrals for outside mental health support, as well as having support in-house done. So yes, we are still supporting our families with mental health.
I believe we also have a hotline phone number, don't we, for mental health?
So yes, we do have our general hotline and we have received some inquiries from parents using our general hotline, but you'll also see using social media and a few other things. Miriam has done an excellent job with being able to advertise resources that the Family Resource Center has been serving. So I know, Ms. Pride, your question was specific to mental health. There's a lot of other needs that have come about during this pandemic, and so I know that Mrs. Kim and other staff were at the Family Resource Center this week distributing diapers and formula, because that's been an area of need, even though obviously not for our school-age children, but for our families in the community. And the team at the Family Resource Center also worked very diligently to have Kaiser operate or take on the cost of that. If we would support the distribution within the community, then we had community partners that would pay for those services.
Thank you. And then the next two are more statements. You talked about professional development for the teachers, and I want to say that I had the opportunity to go through some of the modules that the teachers were able to participate in for online learning, online teaching. And I have to say they did a really good job. They were very well done to have been done in such a short period of time. So please thank the individuals who worked on those modules for us. They really went above and beyond, and they did well. And then the last thing was, you talked about Santana and the change in the graduation rate, the increase in the graduation rate. And I just want to say that it's funny because at Santana, you just don't see the changes through the numbers. You see the changes when you're there on the campus and when you talk to the students there. Over the last 6-7 years, that I've just noticed a big difference in the students. They're definitely more focused, more goal-oriented. They're thinking about their future, their next steps after high school. So kudos to all the staff at Santana. They're really doing a good job, and I know that that rate will be to where they want it to be very, very soon. So kudos to them.
Can I just add that one of their actions in the personalized school success plan that they came up with, because our role as educational services is to support them and guide them through processes that will help them flesh out the actions that they need to address the goal that they came up with. And one of the things that they started implementing was individualized student plans. So they meet with students very often, and they talk about what they need to do to graduate and beyond. They're also talking to the students about life after Santana, after graduation. And so there's a lot of also parent engagement. They're making home visits. Well, they were making home visits, not right now. They were making home visits. They reduced the class size for math so that students could feel a little bit more successful and be able to reach the teacher at a moment's notice when they don't understand the math in front of them. So it's these specific actions that will get them to their goals. So it is an incredible job that they've done as a leadership team with the teachers and the staff, as well as partnering with us. And so we're there to support it, and that's what we call distributed leadership. We can't do it all ourselves. We have to partner with our teachers and our administrators. And our classified staff too, because they have classified staff that is helping them make those visits and make those phone calls. But it's those very specific actions that we need to do.
Okay, Mr. Chen?
Yes, I have a question about the English learners and the newcomers. And is tutoring service for the English learners for after school and during the classroom? Are they during the classroom hours? Are they put them out from the classroom, or the tutors stay in the classroom? They help them as a classroom aid, help the English learners in the classroom.
It's a combination. It's a combination of both. Well, it's not necessarily pulling them out of the classroom. For example, at Giano Middle School, they have created tutoring in between. There's a tutoring block in between their sections. So when students go to tutoring, it's either with a teacher, or it's with a college tutor, or it's with other folks that tutor the students. But I would say it's a combination of both. I know we have Sylvia Rivas, our director of the Department of English Learners, of Special Programs, with us. Sylvia, are you there? She's not there. But it is a combination, Mr. Chen. So we make sure that students are not missing the floor. It is definitely making sure that it happens during their EOD time. It can happen during the day while they're receiving the floor in the classroom, but it's not always after school or before school or during class. It's a combination.
Yeah, this is what I heard from some parents, says they do need more help during the classroom time because sometimes the teacher assigned the peer for the classmates help the English learners. So that it is better to have someone a tutor.
I am here. I was just muted. This is Sylvia Rivas. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, so basically we do have tutoring in different ways. We have our college tutors that are in the classroom with the students at certain subject areas that are more difficult, such as math or social studies. And we also provide the tutoring after school. So we have a combination of tutoring that goes on throughout the day. The most successful is usually our college tutors, through our focus area groups and through surveys that we've seen of students and just talking to parents. They prefer that we use the college tutors. So we've been hiring many college tutors, a lot of them from Nogales High School and Roland, that come back and assist our students.
So they are volunteer, right?
No, they don't volunteer. We actually pay them. It is an unclassified position, and it's available for students that are attending college full-time, and they could work up to 19 and a half hours. So we have so for instance, right now we have 2 seniors at Cal Poly Pomona that went to Nogales, helping at Santana.
Okay.
And we have some other tutors that are going to Whittier College, that went to Roland. So just different students that we've had. It's our alumni that is coming back and helping our students.
Who's organized and coordinated these tutors' time and assign their work?
So it's a coordination between the special projects office and the high schools or secondary schools, depending on what they're needed. So for instance, I recruit them and I hire them and they report to my office, but then they get assigned to a certain school, and usually a counselor or an administrator assigns the class. And we also, I did want to share one more thing. Since we've increased our tutors, we have provided some more training for them this year. So we were planning on having 5 sessions this year. Unfortunately, we only got to do 2 sessions of training with them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Evikamp?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. On slide 4, Ms. Zamora, would you clarify that you said that we are below the state average in regards to counselors and students? I think it could be taken 2 ways. You say we have fewer students per counselor, or we have fewer counselors for our students?
We have fewer students per counselor.
That's what I thought. On the, you said you,
I mean, it's still a large number, but it is fewer students.
yeah. No, I understand. It's important for the board to hear periodically that we have added counselors and, they're working with our students. We mentioned also that we added 4 TOSAs, especially to help with behavior, I think. Is that
The best TOSAs. For this school year, we added 4 to support all of our schools across the district. So the best team is now a team that supports general education as well as special education. In the past, it was a small group of TOSAs that were basically supporting special education, and at times they were able to help us in general education situations when teachers needed support because a student had behavioral outbreaks. And so this allowed us to now make it a district-wide support to where the TOSAs are now teaming up, as well as we have assigned specific TOSAs to specific schools. So if the school has a situation where they need somebody to come in immediately and help de-escalate a situation because the student is having a hard time, we have more people that can do that, and we are now supporting both general education and special education. It is now functioning for both, where in the past it was a special education program, and at times they would help us in general education, of course. Now it is meant to support district-wide.
So they don't travel throughout the district, they're assigned to certain schools and used as we need them?
No, they travel across the
They
district.
do, they travel where needed.
Otherwise, we would need to have one per site. We do have a behavior assistant at every site. But in actual TOSA, we have a total of 6, and they support all 19 sites.
Keep up the good work, it's a good report.
Thank you. They do a great work.
I just have a few comments. On page 4, we talked about the instructional materials.
Yes.
A while back at one of our board meetings, we had a couple of teachers that came forth, or 1 or 2 I should say, that came forth and spoke about the history books that they were utilizing in their classroom and how outdated they were. Does this bring our history classrooms up to current status now?
Yes. Yes, very happy to say that.
Okay. On the special education, during this period of distance learning, have we implemented any special programs to address the needs of the special ed students for distant learning, since they're not as easily to adapt to a computer learning situation?
I do have Dr. Tinka on the line, and I'm going to defer that question to him, and he can provide some examples of that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, a little louder.
Yeah, so So what we've done, Mr. Malkin, is we've, in addition to following the continuity of learning plan for the entire district, we've actually worked with parents in focusing on goals and objectives. So we've laid out specific goals and objectives for each student, almost an IEP continuity of learning plan, where we've laid out goals and objectives and then platforms for those students to meet those goals and objectives. As a result of the situation, there's no way that we're able to provide the amount of minutes that are indicated in an IEP. So we are, by law, providing those minutes to a maximum extent possible. So really, we've created a continuity of learning plan with respect to each student's goals and objectives.
Thank you, Dr. Tingle.
How many students do we have that are classified as special ed?
About 1680, 1,680.
Goodness. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're getting very positive responses from parents and staff. So things are working.
Thank you, Dr. Tinker. On the attendance improvement, I think that's just fantastic. Like other people have already mentioned, that if they're not sitting in their seat in the classroom, it's hard for them to learn. And I really admire some of the administrators in some of the different schools. For example, Mr. Martinez, some of the creative things he does to get his students interested in coming, because they can slime him or do other things, stick him to a pole and stuff, on a wall and stuff. So it's really shown it's paid off, which is great. On page 4, I believe, or 8, page 8, the community outreach, you had mentioned that the part about the apartment complex. I guess that's the one next to Hurley that you were mentioning.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if that could be a golden bell at a future date.
Of course.
It just seems so novel, to involve a landlord to a laundry room and tenants that don't have the ability to access other means. I think that's a great golden bell presentation.
And I know that Miriam is looking at expanding that to other apartment buildings. But just the idea of bringing in college students to tutor, along with our high school students, is innovative in itself, because the students are not only learning and being supported, but they're also having role models that look like them and that have been in their schools. And so that's innovative in itself.
Yeah, and then when we honored recognized the landlord or the owner of the building at the board meeting that time, for painting the laundry room and putting a bookcase in there, I thought he was really appreciative of that recognition. So it's kind of neat involving the community like that. The other thing is, I've spoken to Mary and Kim and the social worker at FRC, and I know they're getting social work students involved now. So they have some 4-year social work students that are helping out now too as a field practice internship for their master's degree, which I think is good too. And this, I realize this is only part of your presentation, but I remember in the past listening to the LCAP presentation, and it was like we were paddling water to stay afloat, and now I feel like we're paddling water to win the race. So it's a big feeling, a big difference of the feeling of listening to this presentation so far versus the previous years. So I'm anxious to hear the rest of it. Any more questions?
Just have a comment.
Donna?
I forgot to mention that on the chronic absenteeism, it was really nice that you mentioned that you went to a training, because we hear that we go to all these trainings and just, do we get anything out of it? And you said that there were a lot of good things coming out of that training, and it really helped us improve. So I was really happy to hear that. I just wanted to mention that, that's all. Great.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have one question, a short question.
So go
Yeah,
ahead.
I have a question about the study exploration. I think we missed one because of pandemic. Are we going to make that in summer? Because kids and parents love it so much.
So I'll answer that for you, Maddie. No, we are not planning to make that up in the summer. So we don't have an intention. We still are navigating when we can come back together in large groups with brick and mortar. And our summer school program will be going on a virtual platform. So we will not be coming back together for another session in the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Samara, you want to continue now?
Yes, thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Huff. Dr. Brian Huff is going to take us through our continuity of learning during this time of student dismissal. Take it away, Dr. Huff, are you there?
I'm here. So we just wanted to take a little bit of time to update the board on all the progress that's been made towards connecting and caring for our students and families during this time. And if you would just give me 1 second, I'm just getting a notification that my computer's about to die. So let me get plugged in right back.
Donna, do you have yours plugged in?
Huh?
You have your computer plugged in?
Yeah, this time I knew. That was very embarrassing last meeting. Oh,
I got mine plugged in this time too.
good.
Well, Dr. Huff is getting everything prepared. I would just like to compliment Dr. Zamora and the Education Services team because as what Brian is going to explain and share with you, and we'll talk a little bit about the timeline, but you'll recall on March 13th, Friday, March 13th, was the day that you as board members came in at noon for an emergency board meeting, and we had a plan where our teachers notified students before the departure and so on and so forth. And then on March 14th and 15th, Saturday and Sunday, there was a group of our Ed Services team and so forth that came together and developed this plan and brought our instructional coaches in, brought all of our administrators in virtually. Nothing was done. We were together in the same building, but we were all on our computers together working through this process. So you'll see what emerged from 48 hours of very detailed work, which was prepared. We were prepared for because of a lot of the leadership the board had provided in the last 5 years to get us to where we are. Are you all plugged in, Brian?
Already, sorry about that. Thank you.
We're on. Go for it.
Okay, so as Dr. Mitchell was just describing, it was on March 13th we were dismissed and then spent the weekend with principals and coaches and Ed Services team to develop a 3-phase plan that would get us to the goal of connecting and basically providing teaching and learning remotely. And the idea was to start, the reason we wanted to start with phase 1, 2, and 3 was to give us time as sort of an on-ramp to get all the pieces in place to support that move towards a full digital learning environment. And so, and also as Dr. Mitchell mentioned, a lot of the reason we were able to pivot so quickly is because of all the hard work over the last 5 years and the direction from the board around integration of technology and the willingness of teachers over the last 5 years and site administrators to really just jump in the deep end and integrate technology. And so when this happened, there was already familiarity with the technology, a lot of deep use of it. And so that really helped the transition to remote learning in a way that wouldn't be possible if all that work hadn't taken place. So when we think about phase 1, the thought was really to focus on enrichment during the first phase. And so sites and teachers developed a combination and digital learning depending on the readiness of their students. But all families had the opportunity to get learning in paper packets if they didn't have technology at home. And for those that did, and classes that were ready to jump in, some teachers were ready to begin that digital learning right off the bat. But this phase 1 really gave us a chance to make sure that our families had the resources they needed, the students had the technology they needed, that the teachers had the training that they needed and the support that they needed to start gearing up towards a fully remote learning situation. And then also, this really was a full district, all hands on deck. And so during this time too, all the systems around delivering meals to students were put into place and were started. Hotlines were created during this phase one, this very first week, so March 16th through March 20th, and then a set of 12 virtual training sessions that were mentioned earlier, and just kudos to Brandy Miller and Janet Chong, who over the weekend developed a set of 12 virtual training sessions that were at capacity that first week with teachers. So each session could take 100 teachers at a time, and all of them were fully packed and were recorded and posted for later viewing. And so teachers were really eager and grateful for that training that first week as we were getting all the pieces in place. And you can see also passing out 2,550 Chromebooks that the site administrators worked very hard with their staff in getting those Chromebooks ready, and the technology department working around the clock to sanitize them and stack them and get them ready, the front office to be distributed in a way that would be safe and follow the physical distancing guidelines that were given to us by the county and state. And so this first week really was about this first phase was about putting a lot of the systems in place where we were gearing up for more of a transition to digital learning. Phase two started the next week, March 23rd, and the focus was on enrichment plus a focus on student goal setting, self-regulation, and you can see a couple of snapshots here. This is really where a lot of the teachers have started hitting the ground running, and you can see a snapshot of one of our kindergarten teachers Zooming with some kindergarten students there. Some teachers started to self-organize, so in addition to the district training, they started to create virtual spaces and time for them to share their ideas, learn from each other, start to troubleshoot. And so you can see our kindergarten teachers across the district, not just at one site, but across many schools, meeting virtually to share lesson plans and ideas on what's working and how to continue to improve during this phase two. So having a phase two also allowed us to close that gap of making sure all of our students were connected. We're very proud to say that 98% of our students by this time were connected with their teachers through remote learning. You can see also additional devices were distributed. The virtual trainings continued around our district-wide hubs. So at phase two, we all teachers were either using Google Classroom in the upper elementary through secondary, or Seesaw in the primary grades. And then the video conferencing tool that we trained on was Zoom. Instructional coaches played a key part in this, holding daily office hours for teachers. And you can see all the meals that were provided and calls made home. And there are a lot of metrics here we don't have on here. We could fill up 5 slides full of all the data. The connections from FRC, the best TOSAs, really providing that wraparound service to students, so that because we know that it's not just about the technology, it's not just about the lesson, but it's addressing the whole child. And so the district really came together to make sure that they were fed, they were being, their social emotional needs were being addressed, and they were getting the pieces in place to really ramp up to that phase 3, which we'll talk about in a second. After phase 2, spring break happened, and it came at a great time. Everyone had been working extremely hard and was ready to take a little bit of a breath and regroup, and then get ready to launch into phase 3, which happened the day after spring break. And one of the things that we, as we were kind of learning through phases 1 and 2 and working with site admin and coaches to really flesh out phase 3, one of the things we decided to do was to break phase 3 into two parts. So phase 3A and phase 3B, both of them focusing on caring, compassion, and connection with students. So that social emotional focus was always primary, but then breaking down phase 3 into 3A being helping students set goals about where their learning was. And then when sites were ready, when they felt like they were ready and they had the training and they could move into phase 3B, which was a full focus on digital learning, on supporting academic maintenance and academic progress. So you can see a really nice screenshot here of Annette Ramirez and Mariela Moscal, the assistant principal at Barra with Mr. Elias's class, popping in one of their classes while their students are sharing some of the work that they did, a self-portrait. So by this time, all the teachers had set up their learning hub around Google Classroom or Seesaw, and we're starting to design learning and activities, and really finding their footing on that balance between face-to-face contact and then individual learning. And so some of the things that were starting to show up as we're getting to phase 3 is just this idea of how time is different, right? So it's in brick and mortar, you go from bell to bell to bell, and so teachers by phase 3 had developed a different kind of schedule that allowed them to check in with students in real time through video conferencing, perhaps provide a little mini lesson or guided reading around the topic that they were looking at, and then pushing out assignments through Seesaw or Google Classroom that the students would then complete on a flexible timeline. One of the things that the teachers have shared about how in this time, all the students have a different sense of time, and some students may stay up really late and send an email to the teacher at 2 o'clock in the morning and may sleep in, and so if they had set up a Zoom session at 8 o'clock in the morning, when a student may not show up, and so just kind of getting their footing on how to design and how to schedule those things out so that there was flexibility for students as they went through that learning. The other thing that as we go into phase 3 is just thinking about the format. So when you're in the brick and mortar, you have that face-to-face time with students throughout the entire period, and you may have a small group instruction, or but then in the remote learning situation, thinking about what's that balance between providing live video conferencing and then also providing assignments offline and through Google Classroom that they can work through on their own pace. And so working through some of those learnings was also important during this time. I think one of the things, like we talked about, Dr. Mitchell mentioned all the work done the last 5 years around integrating technology. In the same way, all of the work that Dr. Zamora has just described around the focus areas, and over the last 4 years, Reader's Workshop, Writer's Workshop, CGI, PBL, all of those changes in teaching and learning that have happened in Roland have been very visible. Was a strong foundation for moving into phase 3, because it was really about how do we take the good instruction that's already happening in Roland. So and what does that look like? How do we provide the same kind of components of good learning in a virtual environment? And so one example would be, the last 4 or 5 years, you see a dramatic increase in the use of small group instruction. And so how do you, providing time, teachers providing flexible groups with students who may not understand or need some reteaching around a certain concept or skill, they would be providing the small group instruction throughout the day in the various content areas. And so now in a virtual environment, how does that happen? And so teachers are being very creative about using breakout rooms in Zoom, or they're creating additional Zoom sessions just for a small group of students that may need a reteaching around a certain concept or skill. And so again, it's not so much learning a new way to teach, it's learning, taking what they already know about good instruction that they've been working very hard to implement and have been very successful, as you can see from our data. And then how does that look in the online environment? So I think that also served us really well. And then the other two things I think that really showed up for the teachers and as we've been learning through this is making sure, we really appreciate the direction of the board and cabinet on this, and making sure that the focus throughout all three phases is really on the social emotional well-being of the students. So, checking in with students around, do they have the food that they need? Do they are their mental health needs being supported? And always having that as the leading lens that teachers are using when they're checking in with students. And also really recognizing that students are coming from so many different circumstances. And it really kind of comes into sharp relief when we're in this situation of remote learning. I think our teachers know our students on an individual basis already. And so when they come to the school, it's a little bit of a brick and mortar. It becomes a level playing field, because when they go home and they're in their own situation, some students may have a quiet place to study and may already have a computer and may have the freedom to be in a quiet place to learn. Other students may be living in a garage with another family. Or they may be in a situation where they're having to take care and babysit their siblings while their parents are at work, or perhaps their family may have lost their income during the pandemic. And so you look at the whole spectrum of students and their different situations that they're in, and the teachers and the site of admin have really risen to the occasion to put the student at the center and to think of that as the lens of every decision that they've been making. And Dr. Zamora will go into the grading recommendations that we have that are based on this idea of putting student situations at the front and holding them harmless in this time. So just want to recognize that teachers, that really all staff across the district has really held that board vision and cabinet vision around carrying and communication first as we've gone through this. And so as we look at phase 3, you can really see how some of these metrics have been ramped up, and the calls made home, the hotline, the number of meals served, the training shifted away from the main hub of Classroom and Zoom and Seesaw to some more tools that could help teachers get deliver content through Screencastify, get formative feedback, formative assessment through Nearpod, so a really interactive tool that allows teachers to check for understanding in the moment. And then also some Zoom security training. So as you probably read in the news, just some of the some security features that we are training teachers and have trained teachers on how to use Zoom in a way that's going to provide the safest environment for their students and for them as teachers. And then also phase 3, closing that gap in access to technology. So over 1,000 iPads were distributed. And just always also recognizing our site admin in going in and working with families to make sure that they had access to those devices. You can see a nice picture of the GELIC staff, again, just kind of reaching out and sending a message to their students that they care about them. So in total, really huge mountains removed in a matter of 4 weeks. You can see the impressive numbers of devices and meals that were served, and again, just want to recognize everyone across the district from admin services, ed services, technology, food services, really all coming together to make sure that students right there in the center were getting what they needed to continue their learning during this time of school dismissal. Also, going on a parallel track to this was the work that Dr. Mitchell and Gina Ward have done to make sure that our staff and our parents were in the loop. So there were a lot of all those Zoom meetings that Dr. Mitchell mentioned over the weekend. We continued on those as a daily check-in at noon for site admin and instructional coaches with ed services, just to get a pulse check on what was showing up and how we could improve and support the work that was going on. That's been reduced now to a couple meetings a week, but it was important at the beginning, and then also all the communication that was going on social media and through email and through Peachstar and phone calls have gone home to make sure that the whole community was on the same page and understanding where we were going. Roland's been recognized for the work over the last month. San Gabriel Valley Tribune did an article recognizing Roland's Innovative Learning for All, Future Ready Schools. Also did an article that was just pushed out last week recognizing the work and the foundational work that helped make this a smooth transition. AXA, the CDE recognized Roland, so I think we do have a lot to be proud of in terms of the work that we had been already in place, but also the work that we've been doing to care for our students over the last month. And then we just want to end by just showing this quick video that gives kind of a highlight of all the work that's been going on.
Even though our buildings are physically closed, our staff are still here, working hard to provide needed services. Roland Unified has amazing employees who are united in doing what's best for kids and our community. During this closure, our employees provided meals for our children, producing and delivering over 150,000 breakfasts and lunches while keeping families and staff healthy and safe. Our team can be reached on dedicated hotlines to help support parents and students with their needs as we transition to a new way of learning. More than ever, we fight to ensure all families receive equal access to tools and resources. More than 3,000 iPads and Chromebooks have been prepared and delivered to students to stay connected. Our teachers are working hard to create a classroom beyond walls and design how it operates remotely. As educators, we continue innovative learning through caring, compassion, and connection. During this unprecedented time, we are all united for educational excellence. We are in this together, with you, even while we are apart. We miss you. We are RUSD.
So we just wanted to stop now before we go on to the next section around resolution recommendations to pause for questions around the community of learning.
Can I just add, Dr. Humphrey, before we go on questions? As a matter of fact, today at a meeting in the County Office of Education, LA County Office of Education recognized our continuity of learning plan, and they're using it as one of ways to help other districts come up with their continuity of learning plan. So ours is being used as a model, and it's just a testament to the great work that our teachers, our staff, our classified staff, everybody has done to put together during this time of student dismissal.
You're muted, David.
Questions, anybody besides Donna? We'll let Angelina go first.
Just one question. I know we talked about all the support and everything, but my biggest concern is the support for the parents who are having to homeschool the kids. especially in parts of my side, the north side of the district, where we have a lot of parents who don't have a high school education. Many barely have an elementary school education. Don't necessarily, English is not their first language in some parts of the area, and they have no idea how to help their child at all. And while with high school kids and even middle school kids it's much easier, with the elementary kids it's a lot harder. We keep hearing that term, loss of learning. What are we doing for those parents, and how are we going to address any loss of learning as we move forward out of the pandemic?
So one of the things, it's a really good point, and you're right. And as we transition to remote learning, there is the need not only for students and teachers, but for parents to be trained and to understand sort of what does this look like. And so a couple of things that have happened. One, at the district level, Brandy Miller has created a couple of some parent videos that walk them through just the logistics of how to help their student, get into Google Classroom or Seesaw, and how to help them submit an assignment. Some of our teacher groups, so that kindergarten collaborative group that I showed you earlier, hosted some live Zoom parent training that was very well attended. But it is a question that we are thinking about right now. In fact, we're just meeting today and just kind of fleshing out what are we seeing right now, and what can we put in place going forward, especially as we go into summer school online and possible blended learning options for the fall. So what do we need to be putting in place? What are we seeing now that we can prepare for the summer rollout that we can have that training in place to make sure parents have the tools they need to respond. And the second part of your question, I think, was around loss of learning, and I know Dr. Zamora has been working with our team to think carefully about how do we put in place structures over the summer when they come back, and maybe even using the summer programs as part of the intervention to address some of that loss of learning. And then what does it look like when we come back in the fall? And what kind of structures do we need to put in place to support students that may have fallen behind for one reason or another? So you're right. It's a good question. It is something that Dr. Zamora has been leading our team through in terms of thinking about putting systems in place.
I'm going to just piggyback and add to that. We also have our parent hotline that is open, and that hotline has the ability to speak with parents in any language, and we are getting calls where parents are asking for specific help. And then teachers are also referring students and families where parents have reached out to teachers and said that, we need a little bit of help here. And so we have some systems in place to be able to support parents. Our first initial parent training was the one that was for primary grades, initiated by kindergarten. We did sessions in Chinese, sessions in Spanish, and sessions in English. And they were very well advertised and very well attended. I think in total there were 5 sessions that we did, and they've also been recorded to be able to share with parents as well. So it is still an area of growth as we navigate and learn, but we do have some pieces that are in place.
I know Ms. Friedman and I have both in the past asked questions about tutoring, for the students after school, and we've talked about what kind of supports could we give parents on even how to help their kids with their homework before the pandemic. And so that's always been a great concern for me since the homeschooling started, where we're not trained to teach our kids. I mean, I thank God that I don't have elementary, junior high, or high school kids at this time. It would be a struggle. So I just want to make sure that we're staying on top of that, and that we're, really reaching out to those parents in all of the communities, just to make sure that they know we're there to help them and their students.
Yes, Ms. McKen?
Piggyback on that last comment, Do we have any online tutoring during while the schools were after the dismissal? Or any help tutoring wise online for the students? Brian?
Yes, there is tutoring. So yes, we do have, because of all of our staff are working remotely, we do have tutors, some of our classified staff who have served as tutors, some of our avid tutors that Sylvia had spoken about. So we do have the availability for staff to be able to provide assistance, as well as working with our students with special needs as well. So there is some tutoring that is taking place.
Also, our teachers are, some of our teachers, especially at the secondary level, are taking office hours, where students are able to call in and get individualized support, whether it be about the instruction that was given or the work that is being done from them. So we do have at the secondary level office hours.
I remember years ago when we first started implementing the computers for the classrooms, how the board was very concerned because we didn't want them to take over the teaching of the students. It was just a tool. Little did we know how important those tools would be. If we weren't prepared right now, we'd be in big trouble. So that's kudos to you, Maddie, for moving everything forward, and for you, Brian, and actually all our staff, because I know IT's calls, the SEA employees, and the kitchen, the bus drivers, it's been a real team effort. I understand that. Let's see. Did we have to purchase a lot of the Chrome and Apple equipment, or were we able to pull them out of classroom equipment that we already had?
Yeah, all the devices that were distributed were pulled from the classroom parts and sanitized and then checked out to students.
Could you just take maybe 2 minutes because I cannot visualize the day in the life of either a middle school or a high school student that have how many classes a day, 6 or 7 classes a day? How do they break that up with the teachers teaching certain ones and getting all those subjects in for the students?
Yeah, so it was that was each school has worked at the secondary level to because they can't replicate a full day. It would wear them out. It's not feasible for them to just do like a 6 hour day set up that way. So a lot of them moved to block schedules, and so they'll have 2 or 3 classes on a Monday, Wednesday, and then 2 or 3 classes on a Tuesday, Thursday. That they would then, and teachers would set up a time when they, as Maddie mentioned, some of them set up office hours, but that time where the students can come in and check in a live video conference that doesn't conflict with other content areas at the secondary level. So it takes a lot of coordination and scheduling to make sure that they're not scheduling on top of each other. But that those teachers are using that video conferencing time, that face-to-face time for different reasons. Sometimes they'll use it, as Maddie mentioned, for an office hour for students to check in and get help with an assignment, or to get help with some homework that they're doing. Other times teachers will use it to give some instruction, so they'll model sort of the learning that's going on right now in, say, a math class, and solving an equation or attacking a problem. So they're modeling that in the video conferencing. There's some of the secondary folks are using that time for studies. So I know we just were talking to some AP teachers that AP testing's coming around the bend, and so the students are self-organizing around study groups instead of using that face-to-face time to put them into breakout rooms and let them kind of review with each other based on the topics that they want to review. They may have different strategies that they're using. They're all following, they all have the same set of guidelines, but it may look different, just like it would in a brick and mortar setting. And then I just want to also recognize the collaborations of Dr. Zamora and Dennis Fixler and Matt. We work on negotiations with the union, with ARE, to come up with these guidelines and to come up with these parameters for phase 3A, which they supported and have had positive feedback around. And so I think what you're describing is, there are some different implementations, but all around the same basic parameters.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
I'm really glad Angelina said she's glad she doesn't have any elementary students or students in school, because I think parents have a new appreciation for teachers now. They're
Cindy.
pretty good. And then I'm glad Lynn asked about the scheduling for upper grades, because I feel like it's a college schedule for the high schoolers. They can get used to like, Monday, Wednesday class, Tuesday, Thursday. It reminds me of college. And Brian, terrific, because I was on phase 3 when it said 1,000 devices plus. I said, I was turning the page to see, well, how much was it, the other phase at the beginning? And so you gave us a total of 4,000, so it looks like you read my mind. Also on page 18, it showed the teachers going around the neighborhood at Oswald Elementary. They did that parade. And then on page 20, the Jellic staff, the message was, at the end, I saw, "We are so proud of you," exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And then in the video, I think I saw Hurley, I wasn't sure on the video. So I think the teachers are doing such a good job, like teaching our kids, but also making sure our students feel cared about still, that they didn't leave them and say, like, I'm gonna forget about you. That caring is very important, and our teachers are showing that. And so just a shout out for them, and thank you for a great report.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, one short question. Are we serving a lot more meals to the kids than before the pandemic?
Alex, you want to take that?
Actually, we serve more meals during the school year, but we are serving a lot of meals with less staff during these times.
Okay.
I'd just like to make one comment. The question was asked, how do parents help their students or their children at home with their homework, given the new learning that we have now. And I'd like to say that Donna and I were at Blandford one night, where they had a math, I forget what it was called. It was math, it was like a math training class. What was it?
Family math night or something
Yeah,
like that?
like family math night, where parents came in with their children, with a person that was guiding them, and hands-on, they learned how to support their students or their children in learning math the new way. And it was a lot of fun. The kids didn't want to leave afterwards, and I think the parents were enjoying it just as much. So a lot of this stuff was set up prior to this whole pandemic, where they were teaching parents how to assist their students with this new technology. Donna, did you have something?
Yeah, after mentioning that, David, they also gave out booklets to help kids do math. So even those kids, if they have those booklets during this time, it would help them in their, academics and stuff. It was amazing.
So I think a lot of what we're seeing are successes now, or like what Dr. Mitchell said earlier, that it was built upon blocks that we have done prior to the pandemic. And, not luckily, because of good planning, we had planned for the future, and it paid off at this point. Okay, Dr. Zamora, do you have the last chapter?
Yes, before I begin to share our work around grading, I'd just like to recognize administrative services. They helped us quite a bit in pushing through the continuity of learning plan. We had so much support from staff and helping us with the devices and helping us reach students, and everything they did for us is just outstanding for our classified staff and administrative services. Also HR with Mr. Baker and helping us make sure that we have the staff that we need in place and that we were moving along. So I really want to say that it was an entire group effort from cabinet to our principals, to our site administrators, to our teachers, our classified staff. This is really demonstrating the heart and soul of Golden Unified. So I do want to thank everybody, my entire department that has been going through sleepless nights and working so hard to make sure that we pull through the work that is needed. So it is definitely incredible to see what can be done when we put together. So thank you to the entire community of Golden Unified.
David, can we clap?
You know, hey, Dr. Demora, you have 15 minutes.
So 15 minutes, and our grading approach, we're almost there. We received guidance from the California Department of Education in making sure that our grading practices during this time, that we act without harm to students and apply the lens of equity. Again, making sure that we protect our students' futures from promotion, graduations to post-secondary plans, that we act without negative consequences to all students, and that we recognize that these are unprecedented times and that we are all dealing with the situation in different ways. Our community, our families, our students are having different challenges, and we want to make sure that we put that in the forefront as we recommend our grading. So at the elementary level, we reached out to our elementary teacher council that is made up of 2 teachers per site, a total of 28 teachers. We reached out to them, we reached out to our elementary school administrators as well as our K-8 school administrators, and we came up with the recommendation of using comments. Make sure that our students are receiving feedback on how they're doing during this time of distance learning. And our next steps are to identify the parameters and guidelines for teachers to provide comments. We came to consensus that this is not the time to use grades. At the secondary level, we again reached out to our teachers as well as our administrators, and we also reached out to our Superintendent Parents Advisory Council, and the recommendation that came from all of these conversations was to use recommend a modified letter grading that holds students harmless, meaning that as of March 13th, a student can only improve their grade. That we are not using this time to do anything else but support our students in improving their grade, and that if for some reason they are not able to complete the work, that we look at the student case by case before assigning an incomplete or taking any other action. That we make sure that the student has the benefit of the doubt, and that we are supporting and protecting their future. Again, making sure that we identify the parameters and guidelines so that our teachers can implement the recommended. Questions?
I can't hear you, David.
David, do you have to unmute?
Thank you, Ms.
I think it's great that the elementary one had 2 teachers from each one. How about the 9 teachers on the principal focus group? How was that divided?
There were 3 focus groups at the high school and 1 at the middle school, and we asked principals to help us with identifying folks that wanted to be on those committees. So we really wanted to take as many as they had, and we know that people are busy, and so the people that they gave us are the people we invited to this conversation.
And was it divided by each of the high schools? That's the main thing that I wanted to ask.
So the high schools met together. We had folks from the 3 high schools, and we were in one group. We had 3 different sessions so that they could try to make one of the 3 sessions.
We also, Donna, Dr. Laura Rivas and Maddie did a fabulous job combining and doing the secondaries, knowing the importance of grades around secondary. So while our principals gave us suggestions, they also made sure that there was representation in our looking at all departments represented, special education, AVID, career pathways, so that there was a wide group of programs from academics, arts, athletics, and activities represented, so that it was a full picture.
And I know some of the communities have said that the grades cannot go lower, like for students that don't do the work that's involved. But these are guidelines from, is it LA County Offices of Education, or that said that the grades have to stay at least what they are or better and can't go lower? Where did that direction come from?
That direction came from the conversations of people with students' parents. So if a student was at risk of failing before March 13th, we were thinking that the parents would have to inform and write a written communication to comply with the education. So the big idea that we kept bringing to the table was that these are unprecedented times. And so if we're giving everybody the benefit of the doubt, and we should give our students the benefit of the doubt, perhaps the students can pick up on some of the work, but then the rest of the time they're babysitting, they're working, they're helping their parents. So this is not a time where we feel students have the ability to just be in one place, focus all day. So we're thinking about all of our students, and we also want to make sure that our students that are doing very well will continue.
I think weren't those recommendations from the UC and Cal State system also?
So the UC and Cal State systems, they were also they're also recognizing that this semester is very difficult for especially our high school students who may not necessarily be able to demonstrate what they would have if they would have been in brick and mortar. So some of the universities have said that they are going to take any type of grading policy, including credit, no credit. We decided as a group of middle school and high school teachers and principals and everybody who came to the table that this was a way that we can help our students maintain their grades.
Any others? Okay, Dr. Samara, do you have one last section then?
Yes, so the last section is just to remind our board that we had a timeline. So the former LCAP timeline demonstrates what we typically do. The next slide shows you now what the revised timeline is for the California Department of Education. In April, this is April, and we're giving you an update. We are not going to bring the draft of our 2020-2021 forecast to the board for approval until December of 2020, which is a written report describing how we changed our program due to the COVID-19 situation. Stakeholder feedback, we are always reaching out to our stakeholders. In this group, we were able to complete the surveys, student surveys, grades 5 through 12. We were able to complete the parent community survey. We used staff input meetings. We had some, not all of them. We had our GLAC meeting, and we did get their feedback, and our parent council meeting. However, we did not complete all of the work that we had to do, but we will continue to gather that feedback as we move forward. Again, the process for our LCAP plan, for the writing of our plan, is to gather feedback from our stakeholders, to reflect on our progress, to outline what we need to continue doing, and to align our actions to our budget. And we will continue to do this process throughout this calendar year. Thank you.
Ms. Evankamp?
This is probably a quick one. the survey or information feedback that you were asking for would be over the LCAP process, right?
It's over the plan and, it's over what, it depends on the group. If it's for parents, it's what they believe will support their student learning, their students' instruction. So what will improve how their students are learning in school? What do they believe is necessary to support students and parents? If it's the students, we ask the students what do they need, what do they feel is working, what do they feel they need to help them achieve in school. So it just depends. When we meet with our associations, our teacher perspective is very evident. They tell us what is working and what they need to be able to do their teaching on a day-to-day basis. So it just depends on the group that we're meeting.
Are you planning to get separate feedback from students, parents, and staff regarding the remote learning specifically?
That is something, yes, that's something that we can definitely do. As we've implemented this and we know that we're going online summer school. At this point, we're not exactly sure what the fall will look like. But if it is some kind of blended approach, definitely bringing in the online process to the stakeholders will be key. So yes, it's something that we definitely play in if we continue to do some type of blended learning.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? I just have one. I know we have a projected schedule for study sessions and board meetings. Will that need to be revised now in lieu of these changes in the LCAP dates?
It does not. So the calendar that the board adopted for the 2021 school year is still in compliance with the dates that have been done. We'll be doing it in December at the time that we bring about our first interim report. So that we're fine at this time.
Don't we have a workshop coming up that's an all-day workshop?
Mr. Malcolm's question, I took it to be repeated around the LCAP timeline change, so that our board meetings need to change. And so that's going to December 2020, and we're in alignment already with our current schedule.
Okay, Dr. Zamora, is that it now?
That's it.
I want to thank you and Dr. Huff and all your supported staff in the background and technology and everybody else who helped you. It was a great presentation, very positive.
Thank you. You do a great job. Very good.
Okay, we go to item number 4 now, which is discussion action items. Item 4A, resolution number SO 1920, colon 24, modified district rating policy due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which was addressed this earlier by Dr. Zamora. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution SO 1920, colon 24 to modify district rating due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
I move.
I have a second? Give the person a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the board study session of the Rolling Unified School District Board of Education?
I'll move.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Pride seconds it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the board study session of April 30th, 2020 will be closed at 6:29 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good one. Don't work too hard.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
At this time, Gina, we can close out our meeting.